All right, people. On this channel, I've been sounding the alarm that politicians like Anthony Albanese and Tutia Kia, they are destroying our centuries-long alliances with countries like the United States. And in both cases, the UK and Australia have more to gain with our alliance with the United States than the other way around. And why are these lefties, semi-socialist, woke politicians doing that? Because they're afraid of their Muslim constituents. So just to appease a tiny segment of their population, i.e. the Muslims, they are destroying our alliances with the United States. On the 21st of March, this is what Donald Trump hinted, and I said it's going to get worse. Have a listen.
Mr. President, you took issue with Australia, Japan and South Korea this week.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
Very surprised about Australia and what? What would you like them to do?
Well, they should get involved, and I was a little bit surprised if they said no, because we always say yes to them.
What did Australia say no to? What did Australia say no to, Mr. President?
So he said that, and then our taxpayer-funded propaganda channel, the ABC, posted this 2 days ago. It's like they're already preparing grounds for disassociating themselves with America. This is Pine Gap.
If the Pine Gap has been involved in those incidents, yes, it's condemnable, I think I would say. And we should, as Australians, we should look into it.
As Australians, we should look into it. He's a Pakistani, by the way. So it's like, if the Pine Gap facility is assisting US forces in Iran, then we should look into it because, you know, those schoolgirls died in Minab, which was obviously a mistake. The US doesn't want to kill Iranian schoolgirls. Nobody buys that, but they keep using that as an argument against this operation. This operation is not just for the good of Israel or the US, but for everyone, including us. We are looking at a total energy crisis. They're saying that by mid-April, our petrol stations are going to be running empty. It's not Donald Trump's fault that we didn't build our strategic reserves. According to the International Energy Agency, every country should have 90 days worth of fuel supplies. And what did we have? 30 days. And that's why by mid-April, we're going to have no fuel. No fuel, guys. We are screwed in Australia. We didn't even learn our lesson during COVID. During COVID, when fuel was cheap, actually, they were giving you money. It went into negative. It went to $0 a barrel, and then it went into negative. They were actually paying you to store fuel because the supply lines have to remain open because once you shut them down, then you can't reopen them, something like that. So what we did, this is the genius of our politicians, yeah? Scott Morrison was prime minister at that time, which is why he's regarded as the second worst prime minister of all time. But right now, looking at Albanese, he looks like a great prime minister. So he bought a few million barrels and he stored that in the United States. The whole point of having strategic reserves is to have oil onshore. And the critics said at that time that if there is another global energy crisis, then the US will keep those reserves for itself. And rightly so. I don't blame the US. I blame our politicians. They're the stupid ones. Anyway, coming back to it. So now President Trump has blasted Australia once again. Have a listen to him.
And maybe in particular that country, you know, the longest bond, the longest ally. Australia too. Australia was not great.
I learned that from Tony Abbott. In the last 100 years, we have fought side by side with our American cousins at all times, like even Vietnam. The UK didn't go to Vietnam. Australia did. It was a very unpopular war in Australia. Our soldiers were not welcomed at that point. It was a very unpopular war, but we stood by our American friends. This is the first time in 100 years. I'm quoting Tony Abbott. I didn't know that. This is the first time when we did not volunteer Australian military assets to assist America. And look at the consequence of that.
I was a little surprised by Australia. I wouldn't say anybody was great other than the 5 countries in the Middle East.
They're the new allies.
We never really had very much support. You know, we spend trillions of dollars supporting countries, and this is Little League. This isn't the big league deal. This is sort of Little League pool for us. This was like we decimated them in a period of a week. In the first week, it was over. In the first few days, it was over. I think the Navy took us 3 days to essentially annihilate it. They weren't there. So if there's ever a big one, which I hope there's not, but if there's ever a big one, I don't think they're going to be there. And that's not fair. And we have to remember that as a country.
That's what I told you. That's what he's going to say. If J.D. Vance becomes the next president, he's going to remember this. He's already an isolationist. If there is a war, if China or Indonesia do threaten us, they're going to say, sorry. We remember what you did in 2026. You didn't come to our rescue. Why should we come to your rescue? You got to remember, there are isolationists in America. America in 1939 did not want to join World War II. This is the reason why Churchill is remembered as one of the greatest leaders of the 20th century. Because between 1939 and 1941, Churchill was all alone. He kept begging Roosevelt to come and assist Britain. Even though Roosevelt, because his mother was English, he had a soft spot for the UK, even he raised his hand and said, oh, sorry, I can't do anything. Then Japan stupidly attacked the US at Pearl Harbor, and the very next day, Hitler stupidly declared war on America. Then America had no choice but to join the war against Germany. But what if Indonesia doesn't make that mistake? They probably can't because they don't have the capability. What if China doesn't make that mistake? And J.D. Vance is in office. Who the hell is going to come to our rescue? It's such a simple point, and it's not my point, guys. This point was made by Australian strategists. This is actually the cornerstone of our defense doctrine. And Anthony Albanese, listening to Tuti Akia, who has his own Islamist problem, says that, oh, we don't want to get involved. No international law. This is against international law. What is international law? Actually, what part of international law that is being violated? You go to the Security Council of the UN and you say, hey, we have reasons to believe that this terrorist regime is going to obtain nuclear weapons. By their own admission, they have 440 kilograms of enriched uranium, which is 2 weeks away from turning into 12 nuclear bombs. We believe that. They've already admitted that. So therefore, we're going to go and degrade their capabilities. Russia and China veto it, and they say, no, sorry, we don't give you this mandate. That's your international law in a nutshell. That is international law. Did Putin look for international law when he went into Ukraine? Is China going to seek international law's approval when it goes into Taiwan? Or it goes into Australia? You know what J.D. Vance is going to say? We're going to condemn that in the UN. We're going to say that this is against international law. The UK and Europe, they're all going to say it's against international law. We highly condemn that. They will be saying that while bombs are falling on Melbourne and Sydney, or enemy troops are landing in Northern Australia. This is how stupid it is. I'm not saying that it's going to happen tomorrow, okay? I'm not being a doomsdayer, but when it comes to planning your country's strategic defense, these are the things you actually put into consideration. But no, we have a woke lefty politician who is following in the footsteps of a loser prime minister known as Keir Starmer, who's shit scared of losing votes in Muslim-dominated constituencies. That's it. That's all there is. These guys are not even that ideologically opposed to it as the Greens are. They have a totally different agenda. Anthony Albanese doesn't even have to worry about the Muslim vote because it's not that much. I know on paper they're saying it's all about international law. It's not. They just don't want to offend the Islamist voter base. That's it. That's all there is. And look what Trump just said. We'll remember that. They will remember that. These pathetic prime ministers, they're gambling with our national security. I think, quite upsetting, guys.